Fisher on AFR Talk.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point, the network, the American Family Radio Talk Network. We want to welcome to our decision maker line a guest, Robbie Record. Robbie is the pastor of the First Baptist Church in Lyman, Mississippi, down in the Gulfport area. Robbie, we had a lengthy conversation on the phone this morning. Welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And Robbie, I understand that you might have sent another piece of information to me via email that I might not have gotten. I did get the latest email from you just before noon. Is that the one you're talking about, or have you sent one since then?
I sent one around 1:30, Brian.
All right. I don't know if you're anywhere near where you could resend that and maybe make sure that gets to my Gmail account. I want to make sure I get that. But what I wanted to talk with Robbie about is this is a breaking story here in the state of Mississippi. Most of you know, I believe, that Mississippi, with 86% of the vote, passed an amendment to our state constitution that defines marriage as the union of one man and one woman and prohibits the recognition of any other kind of domestic relationship. So marriage is a union of one man and one woman. That's in our Constitution. I think our listeners are familiar with that, which means that a marriage that was contracted between two lesbians would not be valid in the state of Mississippi. And yet, Robbie, from our conversation this morning, you're telling me that, and this is based on information that you have, that you can vouch for personally, that there are two lesbians that have, in fact, gotten married in the state of Mississippi. And from what I'm able to gather, they committed fraud to do it, but they managed to get married last week right here in the state of Mississippi. Give us a little background there.
Yes, sir, Brian. That is absolutely true. There are two genetic females in the state of Mississippi who did manage to obtain a marriage license in DeSoto County, Mississippi, and then have a marriage performed in Madison County, Mississippi. What it is one of the two young ladies poses as a man. And so they were able to obtain a marriage license and get married. Now, originally I had thought, that the only way they could have done this was to have committed fraud, to have a fraudulent birth certificate. But I've since found out, after talking with the Department of Vital Records here in Mississippi, that a person can have their birth certificate amended to change the gender on the birth certificate, the gender marker on the birth certificate, to the opposite sex. And all they need to do that is a court order and a letter from a doctor who is performing hormone replacement therapy on the individual. So I suspect that is how they went about doing it. The thing is that even if you obtain a amended birth certificate, the new genetic marker is not changed on the original. It is put into the margin of the birth certificate that the gender has been changed.
So the original birth certificate would still have the original gender marker. In other words, this member of this couple that is claiming to be a man or presenting herself as a man, her birth certificate would be marked with an F for female.
Yes, sir. If that's how they went about doing this, yes, sir, it would.
Well, go ahead.
Well, and then it would have in the margin of the birth certificate, it would have that, the birth certificate had been amended, that the name and the sex had been changed. I asked the lady that I talked to at Vital Records if that person would then be able to go and marry someone of the same genetic sex, and she couldn't give me an answer to that. And all that I've found is that, this is done. It's handled this way in a lot of different states, and it's just state to state how they handle this and how, whether or not they uphold the marriage or not. But either way, it's troubling.
Yeah.
In Mississippi, we know here in Mississippi there are 2 genetic females who have managed to get married. And, it just swings the door wide open in one of the most conservative states in the union. Our governor, our lieutenant governor, and our state in general is very pro-traditional marriage, but this has taken place in our state. So I think it needs to be challenged, and I think we really need to push this forward to get this challenged.
I called DeSoto County, and one interesting thing to me, Robbie, and we've got a picture of the wedding license up on our screen for those that are watching on television or watching on video streaming. We got a copy of the marriage license up there. The wedding license got the names on it and everything. And I called DeSoto County, which is where the marriage license was issued, and they tracked some information down for me. And when you go for a wedding license, you either can take a birth certificate or you can take a driver's license. And the circuit clerk there in DeSoto County, while I had her on the phone, she did some checking around, made some phone calls, actually talked to the people that handle the driver's license issue, and said that when this individual showed up, they showed up with a driver's license and a court order. She applied for a driver's license as a male and had with her a court order apparently identifying her now for legal purposes as a male. And so her driver's license is issued to her as if she was a male, which you and I both know she's not. Mm-hmm. She's a female in every single solitary cell of her body. So apparently she would have used the driver's license to apply for the marriage license rather than her birth certificate, because the birth certificate would indicate that biologically, genetically, according to her DNA, she is still a female. In fact, the clerk told me when she talked to the driver's license people, because this driver's license was just issued about 2 months ago. So apparently all of this is developing fairly rapidly. So I think it was the driver's license was issued like on June 16, and here we are September, just 2 months later, and they are married. That the whoever dealt with this individual had real questions about their orientation. They were claiming to be male, but the mannerisms and all that made her think that she was dealing with a biological female, which it turns out she was, but she was given this court order and apparently felt like she really didn't have a choice. So the bottom line is we have 2 females that have gotten married under Mississippi law, and there it is. This is a state where 86% of Mississippians said we only want marriages between a man and a woman to be recognized, and they found a way to get around that. To me, it's biological fraud, it's ethical fraud, it's legal fraud. If you present yourself as a male and you're not, I mean, that's fraudulent right there. So they've found a way to commit fraud and become married lesbians in the state of Mississippi.
And it's outrageous. And I can't believe this information. You can find all this information on Facebook, which is, it's just outrageous to me that, I haven't heard from or seen anyone else that would really stand up and speak out about this. And, even when I called, my wife and I both have been working on this, and we've called, the Attorney General, the Lieutenant Governor, we even called the Secretary of State. And nobody can really give us any answers. They're working on it or whatever. But to me, it just seems absolutely outrageous.
Well,
that this can happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me too. Robbie, talking here with Robbie Record, he's the pastor of First Baptist Church in Lyman, Mississippi, and he's personally acquainted with one member of this lesbian couple that's now gotten married. So he's speaking from a position of personal knowledge, has family members and friends that know the other partner in this lesbian relationship. But it's striking to me, Robbie, that apparently you were told by Vital Records that all they have to do is to get a letter from a doctor indicating that they're undergoing hormone therapy, so it's not necessary to have any kind of surgical alterations made. You can just decide that you want to present yourself as a male or a female, whatever the opposite sex is, and then just find a willing doctor who will give you one injection of some kind of hormone, and off you go to the driver's license bureau, and presto changeo, now you can marry somebody of the same sex.
Yes, sir. And again, it's unbelievable that it can be like that. And it swings the door wide open in the state of Mississippi. Now any same-sex couple, this is the loophole now. And so it really troubles me that we have this going on here. And I would just really like to encourage people in the state of Mississippi to let's get on the phone and let's call our legislators, and our government officials and get this challenged and get this going. I feel like in this marriage, and who knows? We don't know, Brian, how many times this might have happened already.
Right.
And to me, the first shot has been fired. And we as Christians, as conservatives, we need to really stand up and take a stand here and say we do not want this happening in our state. And I think I think we have a governor that will support that.
Well, and I wonder here too if this is going to be celebrated by gay and lesbian activist groups like Human Rights Commission or whatever. If they're aware of this, you would think they would be celebrating this and promoting this and wanting everybody in America to know that they managed to exploit a loophole in Mississippi law and get two lesbians married in the buckle of the Bible Belt. Or
Yes, sir.
if they may know about it, they may want to keep it quiet because they're afraid that this is going to be bad for the homosexual agenda in Mississippi if ordinary Mississippians find out what they have done to kind of exploit and defy the plain meaning of the Mississippi Constitution. All right, Robbie Record has been my guest, pastor of First Baptist Church in Lyman, Mississippi, down in the Gulfport area. Thank you, Robbie, for bringing this to our attention, and we'll see where things go from here.
Thank you, Brian, for having me.
You
I
bet.
appreciate it very much.
God bless you. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. Stay with us. Focal Point AFR Talk.